Hi class, so now I'll be discussing what virtue ethics is. But before that, let me review the definition of ethics. So we said that ethics has something to do with realizing the fullest potential as free persons while we are continuing our lives and acting in the world and doing what is right for others. It is not about being that efficient or achieving our goals, but it's about realizing what good can we do. It's not just about existing or survival, but it's about having that sense of being human, helping in terms of building our societies. So we said that human beings are complex beings. So this is not just about survival, but we really have to experience the world in various ways, of course, but in consideration with the lives of other people. So now we also mentioned about the importance of studying ethics, especially in our lives. So in the Philippines, we would usually hear the words gawi and gawa. And these words are actually connected to our thoughts and actions. So when we say gawa, it refers to our action, our reflexes, and gawi refers to our inclination. In reflecting on how Filipinos would use these words, one can also understand that human actions are different from being. And this would lead us to the idea that it's important to be conscious about our actions. So the word gawi also refers to the free kind of work. However, instead of focusing on a particular end, like the fulfillment, we would refer or connect it with gawi in terms of our kind acts to other people. So these terms are connected with ethics, which, as a review, ethics come from the Greek word ethos, which means customs or habitual ways or characteristics, which includes our way of doing things, our action, our thoughts, and that would lead to our character. So now let us discuss what virtue ethics is. So this is actually adapted from the theory of Aristotle. So if you gotta look at this table, we have in here the virtue ethics. The other side speaks of deficiency, and then the other side speaks of excess. But virtue is how to strike balance with these different characteristics. How can we moderate the different vices that we have? That's why the following are considered as our virtues. Courage, because you have to defeat your being coward and your being fool hearted. Your temperance, because you have to manage how to defeat your insensibility and licentiousness, among others. So that's why we end up with these beautiful virtues of courage, temperance, generosity, magnificence, high mindedness, and having wholesome ambition. So there's the context of lack of ambition as deficiency, and the excess is over ambitiousness. So we are aspiring to have that so-called wholesome ambition. Virtue is also defined as the characteristics marked by choice. It is residing in the mean relative to us. The mean is the average between those vices. So defined by reason, and as the prudent person would define it, It is the mean with respect to the two other vices, as you can see, the excess and the deficiency. So the moderation is referred to as the virtue. It is a state of one's character that is the result of our choice. So you have to choose to balance your tendencies. And this would also connect with the idea that such choice is governed by prudence or the so-called practical wisdom. So in the context of the discussion on wisdom, we have these terms, episteme, technique, and chronesis. So the justified true belief, the technique, and the prudence. So let's concentrate on the term phronesis, which is the habit of making the right decisions, because we said that it's a choice. It's choosing to do what is right. It's choosing to defeat the excess. It's choosing to do something so that there will be no deficiency. So phronesis is also taking the right actions in context and the relentless pursuit of excellence for the common good. So the theory of Aristotle in relation to the virtue ethics can be also better understood when we discuss about the um, relationship of wisdom or the so-called sphere and how such would serve as a guide in our lives or the so-called philosophy. So the word philosophy is derived from Greek words philos or philos and sophia. And philos means love and um, sophia means wisdom. Thus, philosophy means love of wisdom. In the search of wisdom and truth, which we refer to as philosophy, man would engage himself in the search of finding meaning. So that's why you would refer that person as the philosopher. Plato said, "He who has taste for every sort of knowledge and who is curious to learn and never satisfied may be justly termed a philosopher." So one that keeps on asking questions. So there is that search for truth, search for really knowing the essence or the reason. There is love for wisdom or philosophia. So going back to the theory of Aristotle, the practical virtues such as courage and temperance need specific conditions to be attained. While on the other hand, philosophy is something a person can do by himself anytime. So it's not automatic that we get to acquire the virtue. So we have to constantly make that choices of doing what is right, of what is in the balance, of what's in moderation. So Aristotle raises the significant issues in the study of ethics, the important questions regarding what is good or bad for the human person with respect to that ultimate goal of being fulfilled are also raised. And then he elaborated the conditions upon which the so-called self-actualization, meaning reaching that level of sense of fulfillment, the best possible version of ourselves becomes a practical goal for people to arrive to that sense of being self-actualized, and that ethics should be the foundation and the core of the formation process towards finding meaning, towards attaining our goals in life. So it forms our character and it serves as our way in which we remain grounded to the formation of our life in general, how we can continuously live in harmony with other people. So Aristotle also said that purpose exists in every human being. So to fulfill this function of attaining our goals toward self-actualization in the most excellent possible way, according to Aristotle, it's important to have these values, to have this virtue ethics specifically, which we have to choose. And it's the only way that we can attain our goal. We have to consciously choose to live in a way that follows our ethical values. And that will also serve as the way so that we can flourish our lives. So we also use the term eudaimonia, which is translated as flourishing or success. In this quote, think of a flower. If you water it, give it enough light. Maybe feed it a little, then it will grow and bloom. And human beings can flourish like plants too. So Aristotle assumes that in any activity, practical or theoretical, we have to aim towards what is good. And among the examples he had given where, for instance, the practice of the different activities or profession, like in medicine, in shipbuilding, how people would end up successful in the battles that they choose. So, however, these professional goals or provisional goals are usually being followed by another goal. So, the goal should not just be personal, but it should aim to promote something good for the society. So we should not just seek for health for our own sake, but we also think of others. Or when we build something that can be used by the society, then such are being well utilized, not for ourselves. The context of success and to find that level of being flourished means that we have to let go our constantly in need of feeding our own selves, our own pride or ego. So he named the chief good for human person as eudaimonia, eudaimonia rather, or that level of happiness. And for him, happiness is self-sufficient, final, and attainable goal of human life. That it is not something that is abstract, that it can really be reached. It can possibly be reached. So according to him, happiness, above all, seems to be of this character, for we always choose it on account of itself and never on account of something else. Yet honor, pleasure, intellect, and every virtue we choose on their own account, for even if nothing resulted from them, we would choose each of them. But we choose them also for the sake of happiness, because we suppose that through them we will be happy. But nobody chooses happiness for the sake of these things or generally on account of anything else. So there's always the deeper purpose. So eudaimonia is not just for its own sake. All the other ends, such as health, wealth, power, are sought and perceived as instrument in one's flourishing. But the end, the reason, should be beyond ourselves. So Aristotle also acknowledges the fact that it would not hurt if we were born into more favorable circumstances. Like we're already in a good situation, that we already have proper education, good family, or good friends, or in terms of other considerations. So these external goods actually contribute to our environment. And this should be seen as opportunity to even aspire to flourish, because happiness is not just a mere self-indulgence or pleasure seeking as mentioned. It is crucial to understand that the nature of the human person is to find that precise meaning of happiness, and that should always be connected with the way we link or interact with other people. That the virtue should be given consideration. And that definition of happiness would also help us understand better the reason that we are living. So, lastly, virtue is a state of character which makes a person good and capable of fulfilling his goals. So, I hope that you have reflected something from our short descriptions, specifically on the importance of moderation, of doing what we can so that the what's lacking can be completed, and that we do not overdo it with things that are not necessary or excess already. So thank you so much, class, and have a great day